Oh, what was I doing again? Oh, I was recording the video. What was I recording? The newest episode of She-Hulk. Alright, YouTube, it's Shadow King Nazru, and I'm here to review She-Hulk episode 7. Ugh. Once again, we have not just a bad episode, but a boring episode. I mean, just wow. I mean, to all the stands, the defenders of the MCU and specifically the She-Hulk show, let me ask you this: what has happened in the show, this 9 episode show so far? And I'm not talking about like events, like these standalone episodes that you could toss away. I'm talking about like episodes that actually mean something, that would actually have some impact in the grand scheme of things. I can only list like 2 things, maybe 3. One, She-Hulk gets her powers from the Hulk. No, I mean, hardly resembles anything like how it went down in the comics. Um, the Abomination is on parole. If that's gonna lead to anything major, I don't know. But he's in this episode. But whew, we'll get into what they did to him. And the Intelligentsia is after She-Hulk's blood. But so far, instead of portraying the Intelligentsia as a collective group of the most intelligent supervillains in the Marvel Universe, you introduce them as internet trolls. And yes, I already mentioned that they were technically referenced in Avengers Age of Ultron, but that was 6 years ago. And that was like a kind of blinking and miss it moment. Most people are going to think of the Intelligentsia as like these internet trolls that were sending uh, harmful memes and death threats about She-Hulk. Because that's pretty much how the writers try to cope with criticism of their show and just gaslighting all the people who don't like the show instead of just actually legitimately listening to. But I digress. We start off this episode with She-Hulk dating that guy from the last episode from the wedding who actually was interested in Jen and not just She-Hulk, or so it would seem. And he's acting all nice, all lovey-dovey, and they, as expected, have sex. Now, a lot of people are thinking that, well, considering that this show has the show and the writers have a huge axe to grind against men. They either treat them like they're the biggest scumbags on the earth, they're either incredibly stupid, or they're a bunch of limp dick beta cucks. Uh, or some combination of the 3. So when you introduce this nice guy, you gotta assume that something has to be up. We'll get to that. So, She-Hulk and this guy have sex, and the next morning, he's not there. So that guy bailed out faster than the uh, the doctor that works out, who was catfished by She-Hulk by not revealing that she can change back into her human form, and her human form isn't all that appealing in terms of physical appearance and emotional and mental stability. And this really disturbs She-Hulk. I mean Jen, and she starts becoming obsessed, trying to send him a text and waiting for some sort of response, waiting for literal days. And when you see this montage, it honestly makes her seem crazier than she actually is. She almost comes off like a psychopath or something, or maybe a sociopath, whatever. But she has a huge obsession, and you definitely feel like this girl is mentally deranged. Uh, and Latina best friend, I believe, also mentioned that Jennifer got the Female Lawyer of the Year award. Female Lawyer of the Year, huh? The same female lawyer that was so incompetent at her job that she couldn't even trademark her own name to avoid getting a lawsuit. They didn't even know how trademarks work. Um, the same lawyer that's also a superhero that didn't apprehend reckless, dangerous criminals with Asgardian artifacts and weapons that could that would most surely harm people if they got the opportunity. Uh, she encountered them, fought them off in an embarrassing fashion, and when she had them at her mercy, she just lets them go, doesn't even bother to apprehend them and take them to the police. Um, the same the same lawyer who failed to press charges against Wong for helping the Abomination escape. I mean, granted, someone else would have had to assume and he would have to be arrested, but point still standing, She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, is a terrible lawyer. That if she's getting the best female lawyer of the year award, then you basically turn that into a participation trophy. It doesn't mean anything. But not like she cares anyway, because she's still focused on getting that text from the guy she slept with. And then she gets a call from Emil Blonsky, the Abomination's parole officer. Uh, he, tell, he tells her that Abomination's um, power dampeners went off, and he feels like, and he wants to go check to see if Blonsky has broken his parole obligations, and he needs backup from the She-Hulk. And She-Hulk has to be, I mean, Jen has to be convinced to do this. Actually, actually persuaded to do her job and to do the right thing. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that She-Hulk's selfish. She literally said that in episode 2 that it would have been better if she had not saved the jury and just allowed them to get smashed by a bench when Titania threw it at them. Our hero, everybody. I mean, just choosing not to save people when you're supposed to, and having no sense of morality. It's like I'm dealing with Raimiman 2 all over again. Uh, but Jen goes there. They find out that Blonsky has not broken his parole obligations. It just turned out he was he was around some electric fence and it caused it to go off by mistake, and they had to fix it. Yeah, because why would we want something cool like Emil Blonsky having tricked She-Hulk into giving him parole, and then he decides to commit crimes again, and uh, and we could get a fight between She-Hulk and the Abomination. Why would one get something cool like that? Oh, and I'm sure there's some of you who will say, "Oh, But Blonsky's a changed man. He didn't. He was just trying to be a hero. He was just corrupted by this, by the super soldier serum and the gamma radiation. If you watched The Incredible Hulk back in 2008, or just watched it on DVD and Blu-ray, you would have seen that this guy was ruthless and was willing to kill even before he got the super soldier serum and gamma radiation turned into the abomination. This was the same guy who, while tracking Bruce Banner, was willing and did shoot a dog just to silence him while he was on a communication with General Ross. Uh, this guy was ruthless. He was a mercenary. He wanted the power. He saw what the Hulk was capable of, and he thought, "Man, if I could just harness this power, imagine what it could do for me." So yes, the guy was a villain. But yeah, so they fixed the power inhibitor, and they're and Jen's get ready to leave until uh her car gets destroyed by Man Bull and I forgot what the other guy's name was. The guy who looks like the Matador. I think El Lacula. I think that's what his name was, or something along those lines. And and they were pretty much having this argument, and She-Hulk gets really upset uh that she can't leave this place, and on top of that, they have no signal, so she can't check her messages. Jen, remember when you had that training with Bruce Banner to control your Hulk powers? I mean, I'm sure you like to forget that because you thought it was an inconvenience and you didn't have anything to learn, and it made you really unlikable in the first episode. But regardless of it, it still happened. You still trained with Hulk, and one of those lessons was to jump really high. The Hulk is capable of jumping several miles, I think up to 3 miles per jump, even more when he gets angry and his powers increase. So the same should apply to you, Jen. Just turn to She Hulk, leap, and you'll probably get to where you want to go faster than if you just drove your car. But chances are, the show doesn't have the money to do something like that, and just we're stuck with Jen meandering around. And no show, you probably would have better action scenes if you would actually manage the $25 million per episode, which 5 times 9, which would equal to about hold on, should be like 225 million. Something like 25 million times 9. Oh wow, I was right. $225 million. You had $225 million. That's almost the same amount of money that was used to make Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh yeah, that movie underperformed, like I mentioned before. Um, but you had that amount of money for these 9 episodes, and had you written this show better, had you managed the money better, you could have had great action scenes, not just at the fights, but of She-Hulk using her powers for inconvenient situations, like having her car destroyed, and she could just jump off and use her Hulk powers. No problem solved. But thanks to you incompetence and your lack of comic book knowledge or lack of care for comic books, we're stuck with this. So Jen just keeps going around this retreat, um, where all these supervillains are, like Man Bull, Abomination, uh, Pork. I think was Porcupine. I think it was Porcupine that was there. Um, and some vampire guy. Oh yeah, yeah. We have a guy who either is a vampire or believes he's a vampire. But yeah, great job, Marvel. Great job having this be your first introduction to vampires. You could have saved that for Blade, where we would have actually been introduced to vampires, see them as a threat, and thus take the whole matter seriously. But you decided, in your infinite wisdom, to have him appear in She-Hulk, have it be brought into question, and treat the whole thing like a farce. Ah, but yeah, she's still trying to get that signal. They tell her it's a waste of time, and they feel like she has some issues, so they invite her to have their well, not they invite her to have to the group session to talk her issues out, but she doesn't want to. But she ultimately she barges in, and it's just them sharing their situations and their feelings, and it really makes these villains that we're supposed to be treated as a threat and taken seriously as the most effeminate soy beta cucks you will ever see. Even the Abomination is victim to this. I just why do I even bother with this show sometimes? Oh, and we also get Wrecker from the Wrecking Crew. He's part of this group, and he bumps into Jen. Jen was about to attack him, but he cowers about and apologizes and said that he's trying to fix himself. He doesn't need uh, the Asgardian weapon to make himself strong. And basically, it's just the whole self help speech. You find these new age group therapy. It's all just a whole bunch of new age nonsense, and it just really emasculates Wrecker from the Wrecking Crew yet again. I mean, he already doesn't look remotely like a member of the Wrecking Crew, especially since some of them got race swapped. Looking at you, Thunderball, still haven't gotten that you have been race swapped from a black man to a white man, and now you're saying they're not going to be using their Asgardian weapons. I really hope that they're lying, because if so, you've pretty much taken away the. I mean, because if you're not lying, you've pretty much taken away the threat of the Wrecking Crew. Before they could even prove that they were a legit threat. I mean, it really just shows how these writers don't care about the She-Hulk comics. They don't care about the Marvel comics or the characters. They're just using this as a vehicle for their own feminist agenda and to uh, speak using She-Hulk as a microphone for all their issues and gripes throughout their middle-aged lives. You know what? Matter of fact, let me, let me figure out who wrote this episode. Google.com. Here's what I found. She-Hulk. Trying to find out who wrote this episode. This was okay. So last episode was written by Kara Brown, and this boring a travesty was written by Zeb Wells. Yeah, you really did a good job there, Zeb Wells. Really, Really show how that you, Jessica Gal, Kara Brown, Dana Schwartz, you were, and all the other rest writers, you were the best people for the job. You knew the source material, you knew this character, and you were fit to make a She-Hulk show. You weren't just some diversity hire that Marvel hired for woke points and just to show how progressive they were. So they pretty much try to talk to She-Hulk and uh, try to get her to open up about her problems. And She-Hulk pretty much says um, that she, for all her life, she was just this plain average girl who nobody really paid attention to. And when she's She-Hulk, people pay attention to her. They love her. Well, theoretically, they do. I mean, if we just ignore how insufferable she is. But let's just play devil's advocate and pretend that they do. Um, she gets the attention, she gets the love, she gets special treatment, so on and so forth. You know that like the how the unpopular girl becomes the popular girl. It's like that, and she wants to know. I mean, but if I stop being She-Hulk and just be Jen, will there ever be someone who just loves me for me? You see, the problem with this is that we got the motivation right, but it's going in the wrong direction. In the comics, and yes, I'm going to keep bringing this up. This is a adaptation. Jennifer Walters was pretty average, and when she becomes She-Hulk, she becomes a bombshell and gets all the perks of being one. And you know what? She actually enjoys it because good things are happening to her, and she actually likes being a superhero because it's exciting. It's new, and she's a force for good. But she actually loves doing all the things that She-Hulk does. And she kind of thinks Jen is just kind of average and plain and boring. But in the show, we've gone the opposite direction, which again really shows that these writers do not understand and this character, or if they do know what this character was like, and they just decided to not care and just do their own thing, and just have this be a vehicle for be a self-insert for the writers, and we got a whole bunch of other issues. But yeah, Jim opens up and she changes back to Jennifer. And he said, "Oh yeah, you finally opened us. We've seen the real Jen, even though you've met Jen before she turned into She-Hulk, and you know what she was like." Oh, this is so stupid. Zeb Wells, just what were you, just what were you doing? What were you doing making a garbage episode like this? And it's not that it's just bad. It's not that it's just boring, but it's most of it is pointless. It's not contributing anything to the grand scheme of things. And we already had most of these episodes not contribute to anything of significance. Um, but yeah, Jen finally gets that acceptance, and she finally finds the strength to delete uh, delete what's his name's number from her phone list. Jen, I don't know if you know how text messaging works. You probably don't because you don't know how trademark works, despite being a lawyer. But just because you delete someone's contact information on your phone doesn't negate the fact that he can still text you back. So that possibility still remains. And once you learn that, you're gonna be right back where you started, worrying about, oh, when's he gonna text me? When's he gonna text me? When's he gonna show me that he loves me? Someone please love me. you're gonna be right back to that. And this whole thing will feel even more pointless. But that was that. Oh, and we end off with covering the guy who uh, get this, the guy that was dating had sex with She-Hulk that everyone and their mother thought was going to be they were going to make him evil. He turned out to be evil. Yeah, I know. I'm real shocked. Yeah, I said no one ever. Uh, it just really is insulting to think that the writers thought this was some clever twist, that they were so brilliant that nobody could have seen this coming. Except everyone did for a mile away because they know how you write men. And your writing is so so contrived and predictable. But yeah, he just had sex with She-Hulk just to catch her off guard and get a sample of her blood. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he used the needle to get the blood that we had in the last episode. That seemed like it was being fitted with vibranium or adamantium or whatever. Uh, but if he didn't use that, then that makes that seem pointless. Oh yeah, he's also working with the intelligentsia. So is he getting his orders from the leader, Modoc, Mad Thinker, Mister Sinister, Doctor Doom, Red Ghost, any of the intelligent supervillains, or what? Or are you actually going to lean into this whole? It's just about a whole bunch of internet trolls. Whatever. I'm done talking about this episode. This episode was an abomination. No pun intended. It was unfunny. The action was non-existent, literally non-existent. Uh, the CGI effects are still poor. They've ruined the comic book characters. Mm. The writing is absolutely appalling, and it has so many holes in it. And I'm thinking to myself, Angry Joe, remember the first episode when you were defending this and uh, trying to gaslight all the people who were trying to tell you were wrong, or oh, it has this and this issue, and you were trying to act all defensive and telling people to shut up. It's going to get better. She's going to learn a lesson. And here we are 6 episodes later, and she's pretty much not only does mostly the same, but she also feels like she's validated by herself. She's just acting more. She's still the same hypocritical, narcissistic, uh, somewhat sexist character that they made her out to be, and and it's completely bitter and spiteful, and it's just all around unlikable. Was that with all that? Tell me, was that hill worth dying on? And I extend that question to all the She-Hulk MCU fanboys. Was that was that hill worth dying on? Was it worth it? Knowing that all this time you're wrong. And bear in mind, we only have 2 more episodes of these. So odds are the next uh, episode or the episode after that, that's going to be the episode where they introduce Daredevil back into the MCU, or formally introduce him because he was in No Way Home. Uh, but chances are they're going. No. It's almost a guarantee that they'll ruin his character with the track record that these writers have had. And the best we can hope for is that he won't get so badly damaged that he'll be unsalvageable like She-Hulk or the regular Hulk or any of these other characters have been. And to the writers, I gotta say, with all this incompetence, all this bitterness you have towards men, all this lack of care you have towards the source material, I gotta ask. I mean, all, all bitter, all. I'm gonna put aside my anger towards you, and approach you as a Christian, and try to help you. Jessica Gale, other Dana Schwartz, Kara Brown, the other writers, Zeb Well, who hurt you? Who hurt you? What man did this to you? What man made you feel so miserable that you felt that you should project that onto all men and think that they're the scum of the earth and that you're just bound to be bitter, lonely, spiteful people who care about no one but yourself, can't think about anything but yourselves and what's about your subjective problems. I'm telling you, stop, stop what you're doing. Get some help. Go, go see some good people. I mean, no one's good. I mean, no one's good, but biblical standards. But go see some people that you care, that you care about. Go see a therapist. Go, go to church if you're religious, or go to church if you're not religious, because you can still get some good values from there, and build up your spirit, build up your spiritual self, build up your self-esteem, and just help interact with people that'll be positive to influence on you, and actually learn about the source material, have respect for the source material, and care about it enough to actually adapt it properly. And maybe you can avoid doing these travesties like you did with She-Hulk. I mean, it's too late to save her now. She's done. This is, I mean, she's so badly written now and so unlikable that she's worse than Batwoman. She and her show are worse than Batwoman. I didn't think that was possible, but here we are. I mean, as much as I say that I hate the Raimiman trilogy, I really do. I've been saying that for over a decade. Um, I mean, long before I even had a YouTube channel. But as much as I hate those movies, I can at least say that Sam Raimi was passionate, that he had love for the source material. I don't think he did it properly. I think I've had issues with it, but at least I can say that he's a fan. I can at least say that that there was love in this project, that he wanted to do this movie trilogy justice. But you don't have that, and that's just disheartening. But I'm done talking about this episode. This was painful and boring, but mostly boring. I'll catch you morals later. I'm so done with this show.